All right. Well, hey, let's get started, everybody. I just have a quick little bio. I've got to talk about how awesome Scott is. Scott's been a long time StuCant friend, colleague. He did one of our earliest expert sessions. I was looking at that, and it's got to be 4 or 5 years old now. But Scott's always been an expert. It's always been on the StuCant radar of people to glean from. So Dr. Scott Cowley is an assistant professor of marketing at Western Michigan University, leader of the digital marketing and e-commerce program, and winner of Business School's 2020 Faculty Teaching Award. Scott has a track record of innovation, creating award-winning projects adopted by 100+ universities, coaching students to multiple national case competition wins, and publishing award-winning digital marketing education research. He is also co-authoring StuCant's SEO textbook, which we are very excited about. It'll be fun to see when that comes out, and Scott's been doing a lot of hard work on it, so we're excited to see that. So without any further introduction, I'll turn the time over to you, Scott.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Kelton. All right, everybody. This is going to be just like me teaching class. I told StuCant I wanted to do this workshop style because honestly, it's a lot more fun to do something in workshop format where you come away with actual skills and rather than try and talk in front of a stage and have the right sound bites and stuff, which I'm not good at. So my hope is that by the end of this lesson today, you will all take away something solid from skill-wise from this presentation. Even if you already know some SEO, I promise what we'll talk about and what I'll show you is potentially a different way of thinking about it that will be better than anything that you've seen in terms of being able to help your students, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, and by the way, make sure that you've got access to the chat because I'm gonna have us using the chat at multiple times, and you don't just want to sit back and watch this. You want to actively engage so that you come away with some good stuff. Okay, so let me share my screen. My assumption is that you are seeing exactly what I intend for you to see. And if at any time you are not seeing what it appears like I'm talking about, let me know. Because how many of us have had that happen before where we think we're talking about something, we think our students are talking on the screen, seeing what we've got on the screen, and they're not, and then we've got to go back and repeat it, okay? So this is a lightning workshop. We've got 30 minutes to basically cover as much as I can for something that will hopefully leave you better prepared to teach your students, okay? And if I have one soundbite for you, it's this, okay? It's 2021, and every marketing and media student should know some basic SEO because most job postings from what I've seen, whether they be in brand management or other areas of marketing, often mention SEO as just something that's important to have and to know, okay? So what I've noticed is that a lot of professors have some challenges in knowing how to cover this. You may only have like a single day to cover this in your own class, okay? And that's what this workshop is for, is the assumption that you don't have a lot of time. In my digital marketing class, I spend 3 days on this and have an assignment attached to it. You may not have that luxury, okay? And so my hope is that going through this together, we will walk away with some actual useful skills, tools, some things that will help you understand SEO and better be able to communicate that to your students, okay? So what we're going to cover today is a complex question that students need to be able to answer, and instructors who teach their students need to be able to answer. This will really help reflect what type of knowledge and skill you have in the area of SEO. And my assumption is that all of you know at a basic level what SEO is, what search engine optimization is all about. So I won't go in depth in kind of defining and making vocab out of this presentation, but hopefully you'll be able to gather what we need you to gather. The questions that I want you to be able to answer and I want you to be able to pass along to your students are these basic questions to SEO. One, why is my website's page not ranking as well as my competitor's page? Okay. And what can you do about it? All right. What we're going to do in the process of this workshop is teach you how to diagnose this and create an action plan based on your diagnosis. And I'll teach you a little bit about how we do this for web pages, but the principles that we'll cover in this class are the same principles that you can apply to how do I get my YouTube video ranking ahead of my competition and search results for the thing that I care about. Okay, so we'll have a chance to practice this, and I guess just a quick reminder of why SEO is even a thing and why it's important. It's because we all search all the time. All of us Google everything, and we're pretty lazy about it. Okay, not all of you in this session, but the average human doesn't have all the time in the world to look through all of the different search results and decide on the best one. We take shortcuts because we're mentally taxed, especially the last year, right? If we were to look and see how often does the website that shows up number one in a search result get the clicks from those searchers versus the website that shows up further down the line, that's kind of what that data looks like. All right, we're talking, as many as 30% of the people searching for something click on the first result because they're just looking to save time. And if you are not in the top couple of positions, well, then you're not going to get any of that search traffic. All right. So what we want to cover today is how can you figure out what it's going to take to get you from, let's say, your website showing up number 10 to competing with those showing up number 1 or 2. Okay, that is the intent of this workshop, and we're going to do some diagnosis to figure this out. All right, here is what we're going to cover in this workshop in a nutshell. We can call this gap analysis if you want. We can call this competitive analysis if you want. But I'm going to teach you how to do competitive analysis to answer that core question: why am I not ranking as well as my competitor? Okay, this one skill has an ability to help unlock this concept of SEO for all of your students. Okay, if you get this thing down, if your students get this down, they will understand SEO and they will understand how to do SEO at a basic level. Here is kind of like the golden slide. If there's one slide that you remember in this whole presentation, this is it. Okay, if we've got 2 pages or videos or whatever type of media that we're working with, if we've got our page and we are not ranking as high as our competitor, there is a cause to that. 98% of the time, it is because of one of the following explanations or causes. Okay, either page A, let's imagine we're page B and our competitor is page A. It's got to be because page A is more relevant than our page for a particular search that was done for the keywords that somebody searched for. Okay, so we're going to have to look at that. Or it could be because that page is considered higher quality by the search engine than our page. And we're going to have to look at some link metrics to determine that. If you are not familiar with some SEO basics, we're talking about algorithms here. Google has an algorithm that has to decide, hey, who shows up and in which order when somebody searches for a particular phrase. And they're often determining the quality of those different pages that they might choose to rank based on how popular those pages are, and they judge that in kind of an imperfect way based on whether other websites are linking to this one page. Okay, so we're going to have to look at that. And sometimes it could be that we're not ranking as well because our website is not as authoritative as that other website in a big general sense. Okay, we're going to have to look at that too. And one of the things that's helpful to understand kind of general website authority is this, that imagine you've got like a breaking news story and every news outlet rushes to publish a story on this topic at the exact same time, and they're using the exact same words in their headline, and they're talking about the exact same things. Well, how does Google know which one should show up number 1 or number 2 or number 3? Okay, because these are brand new articles that have just been published. They don't have any time for other people to link to them, right? They don't have any like quality signals like we see here in number 2. So what does Google do instead? It looks to see, hey, how credible is this website as a whole that published this page? So that could be a cause for why we're not ranking as well as our competition. And in many cases, what we find if we actually go and diagnose this and look into it piece by piece is that often the reason we're not ranking as well as our competition is some combination of these 3 things. We got to find that out though. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. And I just want to jump as fast as possible into this workshop stuff so that we can leave you with a quality skill that you didn't start the day with. Okay. We are going to do this gap analysis. If you want, this would be useful to you, is go grab a piece of paper and literally just section this paper off into 6 different squares like you see here. Okay. These are the things that we're going to investigate. We're going to investigate our competitor and these 3 different areas that I just told you about: our keyword relevance, our page quality, and our website authority. And we're going to go investigate our, I don't know if I said our competition first or if I said us first, but we got to look at us and our competition separately. And all we're going to do is we're going to go investigate and we're going to fill in these 6 boxes. And by the end of it, you will be able to tell why we're not ranking as well as our competition. Okay. And all of a sudden, that itself will help unlock this understanding of, well, we found out the root cause, so we know what sort of change we need to make in order to actually change our ranking and beat out our competition. Okay. I think a lot of instructors who try to teach SEO often teach SEO in like a bubble as if competition doesn't even exist. Okay. And I think it's better to treat it as if you really are walking into a market where you already have a lot of content that's trying to rank better than you, and we have to figure out what we have to do to win. Okay. So here's how we're going to set this up. Like I mentioned, now's a great time. Grab a piece of paper, have some other way to document this for yourself, so that as we investigate ourselves and our competitor, we'll be able to make some inferences about why we're not ranking as highly as them. Okay. Now, to give you a sense, I'm going to give you a sense of what we're going to be looking for each of these 3 different components. And by the way, you can see that if you ever hear the term on-page SEO or off-page SEO, on-page is really this keyword relevance component. Do we have all the right words in all the right places in our content? And the off-page is about how authoritative is our page and our website as a whole based on other websites that appear to be linking to it. So if you ever hear those 2 vocab terms, you'll know what parts of SEO this refers to. Okay. But like I mentioned, we're going to go do this ourselves. We're going to go investigate. Here's the scenario that we're going to use for the purposes of answering this question. You're going to put yourself in the shoes of a company digital marketer. You are going to work for a company called Artfinder. Okay, artfinder.com sells art, lo and behold. And what Artfinder is trying to rank number 1 for, so it can get traffic and sales, is people searching for affordable artwork. Okay, so that is the focal keyword that we care about. But unfortunately, right now, Artfinder ranks somewhere around like number 25. You can go look this up yourself and you can see. Who are we getting beat out by? Well, if I'm guessing if most of you do this search yourself, just go Google affordable artwork. My guess is that number 1 or number 2, you're going to see an article there by this website called architecturaldigest.com. They literally just have an article about affordable artwork. And when we're talking about SEO, who we think of as our competitor and who companies often think of as their competitor is often not who they should be thinking about. When it comes to SEO, who is our competition? It's whoever's ranking ahead of us. It's whoever's ranking number 1, even if that's an article, even if it's not even a company, that doesn't matter, because that is the page that is keeping us from getting those views ourselves. Okay. So this is who you're going to put yourself in the shoes of, is Artfinder. And we're going to try and figure out what's it going to take to beat out architecturaldigest.com. Okay. Now, I will give the caveat. There are definitely people who are likely in the room that have more than just an entry-level experience in SEO. There's a lot of nuance that you could bring into SEO. I am here to use this half an hour efficiently, and that may mean simplifying some things. So I recognize that, hey, you may disagree on a particular point or two. That's fine. You can share opinions in the chat, and that's great too, so people can learn. But I'm here to simplify it. Now, here's what we're going to look for. And I've ultra simplified this as well. When we go looking at these two websites, these two pages that are ranking, we're going to look at the content itself. We're going to first look at the page. And by the way, let me just drop these pages right into the chat so that you will have quick and easy access yourselves. Okay, we are Art Finder, and we want to rank as highly as Architectural Digest. So first, we've got to go look at the web pages, and we're going to be looking to see how well do these pages actually incorporate that phrase that we care about, affordable artwork. We're looking to see, are they perfectly optimized? And what we mean by perfectly optimized is, can we find that phrase in its exact word order in a couple of different places? We're going to look, and I'll show you this. We're going to look in the page title. We're going to look in the content. There are other places that we can also optimize, but we're going to keep it simple for the sake of time. And because these two factors are the most important when it comes to search engines determining whether we're relevant or not. And then after we've looked at the pages and compared those, we're going to go look at the metrics, the link metrics for these two pages and their respective websites, and compare those. And once we're done, we're going to have a nice visual comparison to be able to see, hey, which page has the advantage, which website has the advantage, and what does this tell us about what we need to do next? Okay, so with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this slide. I'm going to go and start sharing my browser. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through, and we're going to look at, well, we're first going to look at this high ranking article, okay? This article that ranks #1 for affordable artwork, okay? So here is, and I'm assuming that you are seeing exactly what I'm seeing on my browser. I'm on this page, and let's keep it simple. We want to see, is this phrase affordable artwork found in the places where it should be found? The first place we're going to look is called our page title. Now, believe it or not, this article title is not the page title, okay? The page title is actually what people see when they do a search and this page shows up in search results. We can tell what the page title is pretty quickly by hovering over the tab at the very top of this browser tab. So if you hover over that, you will see something show up. And in this case, it's the same thing as our article title. But can everybody see that? I'd like you to try this out on your own. When you are hovering over that tab, open up the page, hover over it, make sure that you see that show up. Okay, this is our page title, and there's a good chance that it gets cut off. Okay. If it's too long. But what we are looking to see is, does this page title have the word or the phrase affordable artwork in it? And can you see that it does, right? That's the name of the article, Where to Buy Cool Affordable Artwork Online. Okay. It doesn't matter what it has before or after it, but if we're using that phrase exactly as written, it means that that particular page element is perfectly optimized. That's good. That's what we want. Okay. Or in this case, that's what our competitor is doing. So that's to their credit, okay? The second thing that we're going to look at is the content on the page itself. We have this page that is full of content because it's a long article, okay? And when we're looking at the content on the page, you're going to need enough content on the page to signal to search engines that this is a pretty authoritative page for this search. And really what that means is you're going to need at least 100 words of content minimum. And it needs to be content that you've written specifically for that page and didn't just borrow from some other website or some other page of your website. That's what we mean by when we talk about unique content, okay? So what I'm going to do to check this really quickly is I use this all the time. I use Control F, or you can use Command F if you're using a Mac. I'm just going to search the page for this phrase that I said I care about: affordable artwork. Okay. Well, you notice it appears up here at the top as like this headline for the article. How do we view that? Well, this is actually, if you were to select this, you could actually look at the code and inspect the code. I'm not expecting you to be experts in HTML, but we could see if we select that this is actually what we call an H1 tag. It's a header tag that just gives a heading to the page. That's a good thing to make sure that our keyword is located there. That's nice. We can double check that. But what we really want to see is whether that phrase shows up down here in the substantive part of the page. Okay. And as I search for affordable artwork, well, what I found is that that phrase only appears in the article headline. It doesn't actually show up anywhere in the text beneath it. Okay. What I will also look for is to see, well, even if we don't have that exact phrase, do we have parts of that phrase, or do we have variations that would make this page pretty optimized, that would still send a decent signal, right? It's like I might look up the word art, and you see how many times the word art shows up on this page. I don't know. The word artwork shows up on this page quite a bit as well. So that's, helping the page out. The word affordable shows up on the page multiple times as well. But you see that within the content itself, we are not seeing that phrase affordable artwork in its exact order. Okay, so that could be better. But what we've done here is we've just looked at a single page, this page that's ranking number 1, and we've drawn a conclusion about why it's ranking, or how relevant the page is. We can tell it's got a perfectly optimized title tag. The headline at the top is perfectly optimized. The content itself isn't perfectly optimized, but it's got some of those words in it, which makes it partly optimized. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to do is I want you to go over to artfinder.com. That page, the home page, is the one that's ranking for this search for affordable artwork. And I want you to do the same thing there. I'm literally going to give you 2 minutes. This is 2 minutes. I'm not going to talk. And I want you to go investigate the same thing that I just investigated on this other page to see, can you find, are they using that phrase affordable artwork on artfinder.com's homepage? Okay. So I'm going to do what I do in class, where I literally just set a 2-minute timer on my phone, and I'm going to let you loose. And I want you to go look in those same places that I just showed you, and we'll draw some conclusions. Okay. Time is yours. Hey, I'm in the middle of a presentation.
I thought I'd add a little music for you guys.
Got like 1 more minute. right, I think we're done. Okay, how'd it go? Were you able to look in the same places that we just looked and be able to make some inferences, right? If you look up at the title tag on this page, you notice that they don't use that phrase affordable artwork, right? If you look at the page content itself, you notice that they do use the word affordable and they use the word art. And the reality is that, hey, search engines can usually tell that art is synonymous with artwork. But like I mentioned in the chat to somebody, it is good practice until you get more nuanced experience to just use exact phrasing, and you can play with it over time depending upon what sort of outcome you get as you try this out. So we do see the phrase affordable art, which is kind of like affordable artwork. Do we even see we see the word artwork found on the page in different places. Here's the big thing on this page is they really do not have any substantive block of content. Okay. This is really what search engines are looking for is, do you have enough content on the page in order to look authoritative? And really, this is showing nothing but links, like navigation links to subpages and categories. If we really wanted to compete, we're going to need like actual paragraph style content, 100+ words as a group. Okay, so that's something that we have potentially as a disadvantage here. All right, so let's just pause for a second. What we want to do is we want to go back to our analysis chart, and we want to fill in some of this information that we just found looking at these 2 pages on the relevance side. Okay, so what do we know about Art Finder? Well, we would call this, oh man, I gotta shrink my font. We might call this partially optimized because they're using some of the words, but not really in the exact order. Title tag isn't optimized and not enough content. Okay, they really don't have 100+ words of content. Whereas if we look at who's ranking number 1, the title tag is perfectly optimized. It looks like they've got plenty of content, but they're not fully optimized within that content because we never found that exact phrase, but still pretty good. Okay, now we've looked at these 2 different things, so we're partway through looking at and answering this question of why are they ranking ahead of us. The next thing we need to do is we need to look at our link metrics. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky for you, because most of the tools that we would need to look up link metrics are going to require you to either pay for the tool access, or they're going to give you limited access when it comes to how many searches you can do per day. Here are the main tools that I like to recommend. Is that we can either use SEMrush, and this is a site that you can go to do some basic link analysis. And Stukent actually has a nice partnership where you and your students could get a month worth of premium access for free. You can go find the details of that in Stukent's Digital Marketing Essentials textbook, and their SEO assignment talks about how you get access to that yourself. Or you can also get access using what we call Moz's Link Explorer. I think you can sign up and get some basic access to that without having to pay. But let me show you what this looks like. Okay, you can go to these tools and you can see them in action. But let me show you, and we can make some inferences by looking at the same thing together. Okay, so now I'm back to my browser and I'm on SEMrush. And SEMrush has a bunch of great digital marketing tools here. But one of the tools that we're going to use is we're going to try and do some link analysis. Okay, so I'm going to take the URL for our company, which is Art Finder, and I'm going to go down to the backlink analysis part, and I'm going to search for search our backlinks. Okay, And I'm going to do something else. And I'm going to, the really nice thing is they will let me plug in a competitor right next to it, so I can see our link metrics together at the same time. Okay. Now, here's what, like I mentioned to you, here's what I said we need to do in the case of checking our links. We want to see, first of all, are these pages popular or not? Okay. And in order to do that, I'm going to want to look and see, hey, what do the link metrics look like for other websites linking to this specific page? And so I've got the set to show me links pointing to this URL specifically, and I've got both of my URLs in there. Now, what you see here is a chart showing some basic link metrics. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can analyze and measure links, but I'm going to save you some time, and I'm going to point you to one specific link metric that I think is always valuable to doing quick and dirty analysis of this type. And that is the number of referring domains. This metric represents how many different websites are linking to this one page. Okay. So as you can see here, artfinder.com, we've got 219 other websites linking to this page. This article that's ranking number 1, we've got 449 other websites linking to that one page. That represents a gap of about 230 websites that are linking to our competitor more than us. Okay. So it's good to know that that's the case. I'm actually just going to go back to my slides and document this really quickly so that when we go back, we can look at this in comparison. The next thing that we're going to want to do is, like I mentioned, it could be that they're ranking ahead of us because their specific page is considered higher quality, or it could be that their whole website is considered higher quality. And we can check that just by changing this dropdown. Instead of looking at the URL, we want to look at the whole root domain metrics for both of these websites. And I'm going to click compare, and we're going to see how that changes. Okay. So look at the difference in numbers when we look at any page. So this number represents how many websites are linking to any page of our website as kind of an overall measure of how authoritative is our website overall. And what do you see here? It's pretty clear that we've got a massive gap here. Okay. That this article that's outranking us is on a website that has 86.4 thousand websites linking to that domain, whereas Artfinder only has 5.3 thousand websites that link to it. Okay, that represents a pretty substantial gap when it comes to how well we're, how authoritative our website is seen. Does that make sense? You still follow me? Okay. Well, the great thing about what we've just done is we have just done very quick and dirty analysis to identify how are we doing versus this competitor that's ranking number 1. Now, let me take you back to the slides where I've entered this information in. And I've got this information that's comparing us versus that competitor page. I've got link information. I've got comparison of how well optimized the pages are. And let me remind you of what our options are. Okay, why are they ranking higher than us? Is it because that page is more relevant than us? Is it because that page is considered higher quality than us? Or is it because that website, that whole website is more authoritative than us? Or is it some combination of these 3 things? Okay, take 20 seconds and consider your answer to that question based on what we just uncovered. Let me go back here. Is it because of our on page? Is it because of our page popularity? Or is it because of our website authority as a whole that we are not ranking as high as we want to? What do you think? And feel free to use the chat to give your answer. And as I look at some of the answers coming in, I think Vicky captures it perfectly, where she says all of the above, right? It's like, we're not as well optimized as that other page. Our web page is not as high quality, and our website is not as authoritative. Okay, we've got a gap in every single one of these. And that's really all you have to conclude about this. And looking at these things separately, filling in these 6 boxes like we've done, gives you an indication of where we can make up ground, okay, and what we may need to do if we want to compete. In this case, one of the things that SEOs would probably recommend is like, well, let's start by doing the easiest thing, which is to change our page content, right? To change our page title. If we really care about that specific keyword, we change that, and change our content, and actually add content to that page so that we're perfectly optimized for that phrase. That's a pretty easy fix, isn't it? Okay. The on-page side of this is pretty fast and simple. It is the off-page side of getting other websites to actually link to us that is the real hard work of SEO. Okay. And in many cases, like, you don't have the resources or the time to work on getting other websites to link to you. We call this practice link building, and your gap may be so big that like you're not going to have an easy time at trying to bridge that gap of like 80,000 websites linking to our competitor website versus us, or even 200 websites linking to this specific page. It's not easy. If we were to look at what SEO looks like in practice, you would see that the typical SEO company works on the website content in the first month of an SEO campaign, and all the rest of their time is spent usually trying to close a link gap when it comes to the authority of that page or that website. Okay, that's really where the hard work of SEO happens, is in trying to build up the authority of our website or particular pages of our website. Okay, so hopefully that's valuable to you. And this is the thing I want to tell you. You can do this exact same thing on your own anytime you want. Go pick do any search, look at who's ranking number 1, look at who's ranking number 10 or number 15, and investigate these things, and you'll find the answer. You can do the same thing with YouTube videos. I'll talk about that in just a second. But let's look at a couple of options that we have based on what we have just seen here. And so we know that we have a deficiency in all 3 of these things. Well, you can change the content pretty easily, but here are kind of your 2 options. I call these fight or flight. Okay, you can choose to fight, and you can choose to invest in doing what we call link building and getting other websites to link to us. And usually that's a long process. Usually that involves having to create some things on our website that other websites want to link to. Okay, you can use these link analysis tools that I just showed you, like SEMrush, and look and see. And what we typically do with students is show them, hey, here is all the data on which websites are linking to us. And you can go see those links and see, why are they linking to us, and why are they linking to our competitors, and go investigate. And by understanding why our competitor is getting linked to so much, we can come up with strategies for how we kind of do something similar for our own website and attract similar links to our website. It's hard work though. So there's a fight response to this, where you say, okay, let's go, let's do it. Let's go head to head. And it's going to take a while. Or the other option you have is what I call the flight response, which is say, maybe we don't need to rank for this one keyword. Maybe it's like too competitive for us, and we just need to change which keyword we care about this page ranking for, and find something lower competition so that we don't have to worry about the link side of things. Okay. And And that's a separate practice to doing the research in order to identify the type of keyword phrase that is not going to have nearly that much competition. Okay. But if, for the sake of time, I'll just walk you really quickly through how we might go about finding something easier that would be easier for us to rank number one for, easier for us to get traffic for. And it usually involves finding some variation of this phrase that we started with, right? Like affordable artwork. Well, it's not going to be that, but it could be some more specific variation on that. And then checking the competition level to see, is that lower competition or not? I'll show you a quick way that I like to do this. And I'll pull up the browser once more. There are different keyword tools that you can test out for yourself, and you're welcome to try these whenever you want. One of these that I like is called keywordtool.io. It's great for generating kind of variations on these keywords. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to search for affordable artwork. And this tool is literally just going to come up with a variety of other phrases that people actually search for. Okay. You can see a whole bunch of different ways in which people phrase these searches, and it's very possible that some phrase that's more specific or longer is actually lower competition than what we want. I'll give you an example of a keyword that I found for the purposes of demonstrating this that might be useful, just to kind of hit this point home. I'm going to search for affordable artwork for living rooms. That's more specific, right? And if I just do that search and I scroll down, what I'm looking for is to see whether any of these results that appear on this search result page use that phrase. And in this case, none of them do. Okay, none of these. What I'm looking for is, are the big blue links in the search result, are any of those links, that's a page title, are any of those using that phrase, affordable artwork for living rooms? None of them are. That's a good indication that this is a more specific phrase that is not going to have nearly as much competition, because, hey, all I need to do is create a single page that's well optimized for that phrase in my title, in my content, and I don't have to worry so much about competition, because search engines care about relevance first and foremost. Does that make sense? So let's see what we have time for, if anything. Let me give you a quick indication of how you could give your own students experience with some of this type of stuff. Let's assume that you actually wanted to create like a little project around this. Okay. Here are the things that you could consider doing. I've done different ones of this type. One is you could find a local company that you want to partner with. Oh wait, you aren't seeing my slides. Let me fix that. This isn't the first time. Ooh. You should be seeing the slide now. So you could find a company that has not had much SEO work done, and you could have students help optimize their website and do this sort of analysis for them. You could have students experience this for themselves by creating their own content. I would recommend that you have them do this using a LinkedIn article. Okay, instead of just doing a status update on LinkedIn, you can actually write an article, and those articles could show up in search if they're optimized well. Medium.com is another place that you can just write an article without having to build out your own website. I think that these are preferable entry points to making your students build a website that is not usually going to have the authority to help any page rank, at least not quickly. Okay. The other thing that I really like to do is I like to have students create YouTube videos and try and rank a video in YouTube search. And I've had a lot of good experiences with students learning how to do this for themselves. The principles that govern web page SEO are very similar to the principles that govern video SEO, right? You want your keywords showing up in the video title and the description. Instead of links, YouTube is using things like, hey, how long are people sticking through the video? And are people engaging with it? And then instead of website authority, they're using channel authority. Does the channel have subscribers, and are people watching through videos? Even a brand new YouTube channel can work fine for this type of exercise if you find a good low competition keyword, like I just showed you. I'll just show you some quick examples of stuff that I and my students have created for practicing SEO. I did one myself that was how to frost a cake with a butter knife. How to frost a cake was too competitive, so I picked how to frost a cake with a butter knife, and that video has 16,000 views. I wouldn't trust that video to actually teach you how to frost a cake with a butter knife, but by way of example, one of my student teams created how to use chopsticks to eat noodles. This one's hilarious. This one has over 103,000 views on it now. And if you go look this up, it'll be like the #1 thing. And it kind of went viral, and people just like are making fun of the video in good fun. And it's gotten a ton of views. Damien Arthur is a marketing professor out in Dubai, and like he did this himself, and his video has like 48,000 views. So I'm telling you, you do not have to be a video creator to have success, but I do recommend trying this out yourself before having your students do it. And then lastly, if you want to improve your own SEO knowledge, or if students come asking, how do I learn better about this topic of SEO? I've got 3 resources that I can point you to. One is SEMrush Academy. They have free video trainings. They have certification exams also for free. They have some phenomenal trainings on like SEO fundamentals, keyword research, technical SEO. So these are all video form. If you want to give somebody something in text form that they can easily skim through, you can give them the Moz Beginner's Guide to SEO. That's also a good online resource. And then, as was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, later this month, we're going to be coming out with the full SEO textbook if you wanted to teach an entire class on this, or just borrow pieces from it for the purposes of integrating like small assignments or other skill building, or if you just want to learn more about it yourself. Okay, so I recommend all 3 of these resources, and that is it. I will tell you, if you are interested, I think I can drop it in here real quick, but I'm going to drop in the actual assignment details to that video assignment that I've created for my students. I actually published like a walkthrough journal article about this so that you can check that out for yourself. And if you want kind of like the assignment sheet and stuff, I think that has a lot of things in it, but yeah, I'm dropping it into the chat right now. So go check the chat and snag that if you want your students to actually experience getting traffic and getting rankings all within class. That's a really good way to do it. Okay.
Awesome, Scott. Hey, someone also mentioned, would you mind throwing in your personal website? I know that you got like the BuzzFeed assignment and some other great goodies there.
Yeah, in fact, what I plan to do, I mean, I don't have SEO resources on there right now, but here's what I will do. If you want this presentation, just send me an email, and I'm also going to put up a few different resources and things for teaching SEO on my website. I plan to do that before presentation today, just didn't quite have time, but I'll put up a page that's got some of these things that you may find a use for. Okay, I'm happy and willing to share anything and everything that I use on my own students. Okay.
Awesome. We are very short on time. That session was incredible. We do have some questions that came through. If anyone does have additional questions, we'll probably only get to 1 or 2 of them. But there was a question that came in pretty early when we were talking about the diagram and kind of that checklist. And so I'm just going to read it word for word, and then you can take a crack at it. So it says, how important is using the exact phrase for on-page SEO now that search engines weight user intent and browser history more heavily when determining relevance?
Yeah, and I think I even responded to that question in the chat but I will say this, just because you find a keyword phrase that is not being used exactly by everybody else doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically going to be able to rank #1 for that, because search engines they are pretty good at making inferences about the phrase that you're using and how similar it is to the type of phrases being used by other pages that you're competing with. So that's why it's like, it's best to, I think it's still good practice just to train students, hey, use this exact phrase in your different page elements, but recognize that that doesn't always guarantee that you're going to rank number one for what you care about. It's more about seeing, am I writing on a unique topic that other existing pages and search results don't appear to be tackling this topic, even if the phrasing is slightly different. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb.
Awesome. When you approach this in your class, are you generally dealing with kids that have no exposure to SEO, or are you taking them from scratch all the way through, or a little bit more advanced and helping
Yeah,
them?
it's usually from scratch. In fact, I'm super happy. Yesterday, one of my students last semester just emailed me because he just got like a full-fledged SEO job in a really good agency in Detroit, and he literally just had like 3 days of training and assignments in my class, and then you know, taught him some of these tools and techniques, and he was able to talk intelligently about it. So but yeah, most students have no experience at all with this.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have left. We're going to move on to our next session here coming up. But Scott, as always, it's great to have you on. You're always a fan favorite, and you pull a crowd. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll look forward to seeing what the future has in store with your SEO book.
Yep. And like I said, email me if you have any follow-up questions or looking for resources that I can share with you. Okay.
Awesome. All right, everybody. See ya.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.